Welcome everybody to Rivals Race Chat. Oh, I didn't even get through the intro today. I love that about us, though. Somehow we always manage to make each other laugh right we come on the air. Sometimes it's Spencer, sometimes it's us. It's always a definite maybe, though. Gets us there.
We've
How you doing today?
Good. We've never done that. We've never been unified in poking fun at Spencer. Like he's always kind of been Teflon, right? You don't mess with the Spencer.
You don't mess with the Don. He's got the power to clip us, as you would say in mob terms
He
here
has
on the air. Housekeeping. He wrote on our planner sheet that our last show will be December 16th. Last show ever? Oh, the next line says first show. January 16th. I'm bummed out. We're not even going to get to 300 before Christmas. I thought we were going to get to 300.
Well,
that means 299 is the last show. That means
Spencer
to get
wants
to
to be a
300, we have to come back.
Yeah,
what do you
we
mean by that?
What, Spencer being a part-timer? What, are we teachers now? We get 3 weeks off at Christmas?
I technically I'll be gone the 20th to the 27th, so I'm out of country.
Where are you going?
Yeah, I'm skipping Christmas this year. The whole fam's going to Dominican for Christmas. I'm not even unpacking the Christmas tree or nothing. Yeah, Grandma wanted to do stuff, and I'm like, let's go.
Yeah, we did it for years. I highly recommend it. Plus, wait till you see Dominican Santa Claus.
Well, the resort I'm going to, I just had friends that went there last week, so kind of know the current status of the food and everything. And it looks like we're going to be good. But let's talk about other stuff. We have a jam-packed show, so we should not be monkeying around. Tonight, we hope to welcome, Dale Shaw, second RCM. So we know we're getting Dale, Paul Geniola Jr., Tony Blanchard, and Jason Haskell. Tony will come on to talk about marketing and maybe some of the mistakes that racers are making. And Paul is going to talk about everything late models along with Dale Shaw, same deal. And Jason Haskell is, I believe, renting his car out to a team that is going to the Dome. So we'll try and get Jason to chime in, and they're actually en route. So we might get them on the way. Let's bring in Dale Shaw. Adam, you and I talked a lot about a lot of the announcements that came out this last few weeks about a few different things. A lot about the IHRA. ASA announced a new deal again. It's Snowball Derby week. There's lots to talk in the late model world. Welcome to the show, Dale. How are you doing? And what's on your mind on Snowball Derby week?
I'm good, guys. A little under the weather. I got a little cold, but we'll soldier through and get through this cold weather. And excited for Derby weekend.
So, Dale, we brought you on because you build race cars. And it's been interesting watching some of the press releases that come out. There's a lot of great series. At home, we're spoiled. We've got the APC series. It's fantastic racing. We got some good super late model racing up here. And then, of course, there's big series all throughout the U.S., whether it's ASA or Cars Tour. The list is endless. But what's interesting, can you remember, are you up to speed on all the announcements coming out of these series that want to save racers money and pay them big bucks?
I feel like I am. I feel like I follow what's going on. I feel like there's so many new series that have come out lately in all the news in the last couple of weeks. It's almost hard to kind of stay on top of everything. And I almost feel like things are maybe a little diluted right now, especially down south. Obviously, I don't get to watch every race, but I feel like sometimes I'll, put a race on floor or whatever. I'll see results and I'll be like, so that's a Southern Super Series race, but it's ASA sanctioned, and it's kind of hard to stay on top of it all, in my opinion, to be honest with you, Adam. But yeah, I try and stay up on the up and up what's going on south of the border and especially north of the border.
Clint, I got a follow-up if it's all right with you. So knowing those rules package compared to what we run up here, what would be the cost difference? What would you have to do to your car to take it to run the Snowflake?
Yeah, so we've actually talked about that a little bit lately. I feel like north of the border, they've done a good job not allowing us to buy really expensive parts. So your key differences are, so we're basically on a spec shock rule or somewhat of a spec shock rule up here. Our transmissions were supposed to be running very cheap. quarter of the cost transmissions compared to what they're allowed down south. And then engines wise, Pro Late Model Racing is pretty much the same all over the U.S. and Canada. But bolt-on stuff, we're not allowed cambered snouts. There's a few things we're not allowed, but the transmissions really saves us a lot of money. And then, and shocks. Shock saves us a fair bit of money too, but not a lot. So if we wanted to go Pro Late Model Racing down south, very expensive transmission. You could put more expensive shocks on if you really wanted to. I'm not a huge fan of going somewhere with a lot of unknowns and going with parts you don't know a lot about, so I would probably go with what I'm running already. But yeah, transmissions, and then like for me, for example, my cars, we always don't always have brand new body panels and stuff like that. When you go to shows like the Derby, you got to show up with the best of the best and the best equipment and have it looking best. But it's honestly wouldn't be that hard for us to go try and race the Snowflake, I think, off the top of my head. Obviously, the hardest part is the competition, making the field and going to a racetrack we don't know, right? So, but yeah, that's the gist of it.
Before we get back to the new series that are coming out, I guess, Dale, we kind of have Adam grew up on pavement, I grew up on dirt. We have kind of 50-50 here in our viewership. For the dirt fans, I actually was surprised when I went to Talladega that Pensacola was pretty much south of Alabama. Like, I didn't realize it's not in the Florida most people think.
Yeah.
It's way over on the Panhandle, as they call it. What is the draw? Why does everybody here aspire, as I like to say, to be a snowflake competitor or a snowball derby competitor? On dirt, we used to have Dirt Week, the same kind of thing, right, Adam? Everybody would make the effort. End of the season, they'd all spend a shit ton of money. They'd all put new wraps on the cars. Everybody displayed all new stuff. Kind of like what we're seeing at the Dome, and we'll talk about that a little bit later also. But, yeah, so what is the allure? Is it just the prestige of the event because it's been around so long, Dale?
So the first thing that comes to mind is Eric Jones. The year he went out, beat Kyle Busch, that basically shot his career on an uphill trajectory. I think a lot of people have the opinion that if you can go down to Pensacola, win the Flake or the Derby, that's just going to take your career and give you all the opportunities you're ever going to need. But I know, like, for example, so we'll talk about up here. So Autumn Colors is what ends the year for Ontario racing. So I think, what did we have? 26, 28 late models there this year. And the payout's good, don't get me wrong, but it's just end of the year. We want to get the last race in. We all want to go racing. We don't want to give up for the winter. And I think that's part of the thing with the Derby and the Flake is, like, guys just don't want to give up racing. They want to go racing. And I'll from my side of things, I can compare it to the Autumn Colors is when I have budget left at the end of the year, we go run colors, right? So I'm assuming most of the United States and parts of Canada, if they have budget left, they go race the Derby, they go race the Flake, whatnot. But I think the prestige of it, I think the best of the best. I think it's a really racy racetrack and a really nice racetrack. I think another thing that kind of helps from my standpoint is that you have basically 3 days of practice. So when you're showing up to a brand new racetrack, like if I show up to an APC race, we're not allowed to test within 7 days or whatever of the race. So we get an hour of practice. So say, I don't know, Bubba Pollard comes to Flamborough Speedway. He gets 1 hour to figure out Flamborough Speedway if he doesn't come up 7 days before. Whereas when you go to the Flake or the Derby, you get 3-4 days of it, or you can practice the Saturday before, the Sunday before, or whatnot. So I think that probably helps a little bit. But it's just end of the year. We want to keep racing. We don't want to sit around all winter doing nothing. And, man, I'd love to go 1 year. Like, that's a major, major goal of mine. But we're still a ways away from that. So,
Adam, just let me jump in for 1 second before you get a next question. I just want to clarify for the dirt fans, or maybe people know we're throwing around these terms: snowflake, snowball. No one knows what we're talking about. So it's a major race that ends the year on the pavement, way down Florida, like we said. But the Snowball Derby is a legendary super late model race, and the Snowflake is the companion support pro late model race that happens on the Saturday. So go ahead, Adam. I just wanted to clarify that because I know not everybody knows what we're talking about.
No, fair enough. We do jump topics a lot and talk about a lot of different things, but it's good to have goals set out for yourself, Dale. They have prizes for longest tow and things like that. I think it's time we bring things to 2025. I want there to be a prize, and it should just be a ribbon for whoever buys the most tires in 6 days.
Oh man,
What's the over under on 60 or more? Would one race car run more than 60 tires that week?
I've heard some insane stories. Like I've heard stories of 12, 13, 14, 15 sets of tires for the week. I actually messaged a friend of mine who's living down in Alabama now, and he basically, said with the prolate stuff, you could probably get away with 4 to 5 sets of tires for the weekend. But the biggest thing, so the reason they buy so many tires, Adam, is with the super late model stuff, it's 2-lap qualifying and it's not impound. So basically, you can design a setup just for 2 laps. So you're going to go out and buy 10 sets of tires maybe just to do 2-lap qualifying runs, and you're probably not going to use those tires again. Whereas with the Pro Late model stuff, it's impound racing, meaning you qualify Saturday morning and then you race the feature. So you can't just design a qualifying setup. So doing 10 qualifying runs doesn't really help you because, like I just said, you can't design a qualifying setup. The amount of money those guys spend on tires down there, man. Like I've heard stories that locals come in with trailers and just take away like the 2-lap old tires, and then that's what they use for practice on, the next year or whatever. But it blows my mind how many freaking tires those guys go through down there. That's for sure.
I'll defend their logic with this. That's a race you have to qualify for.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not like a lot of races where everyone who shows up gets to run. So you've got to be sharp. But like we've talked about time and time again, who is there to protect the racers from themselves? Nobody, because people are getting paid. These tires are not free. They have to be paid for. So it's a big, ugly industry, and whoever can spend the most, Dale.
So the funny part about it is, so I compare that up here. So APC actually has this on a practice tire rule. So we're allowed 6 the first week. Then I think you're allowed 4 more for week 4, and then 4 more for week 7. And then you're allowed to practice on new tires as well, so that all gets mixed in, and they bring in all of our barcodes and stuff, and they kind of stay on top of it the best they can. I'll tell you this, Adam, I did not buy one practice tire last year. I picked the best tires I have sitting around. That's what I practice on the next week. I usually practice about 18th to 16th. I go out in the first 2 groups of qualifying. I put new tires on. You go 3 to 5 tenths faster. You just hope and pray that A, your setup's correct, and B, you're ready to pick up half a second on tires. A funny thing about the Derby is, so 300-lap race, right? Qualifying basically means nothing. Because after 100 laps, after 200 laps of pit cycles and whatnot, especially at Pensacola, which seems like a pretty easy track to pass on, qualifying basically means nothing other than making the race, like you said. Like that seems to be the hardest. Well, not the hardest part of that show, but like a lot of people just are happy to make the race. Like that's a big deal. So I completely agree with what you're saying. Another little story. So Delaware this year, we're getting ready for that race. It's a 6-tire race for us, which is not normal for APC up here. All of our shows are 4-tire shows. And I went down, dropped my wheels off Grisdale's, get ready to go. And then I'm looking at all these piles, and I said to the Lockwoods, I was like, man, that seems like a lot of tires. And they said I was the first guy. I counted like 18 stacks of tires. I did not buy a practice set for Delaware Speedway for the Great Canadian 300. So the majority of that field bought 10 tires to run that race. In my opinion, for up here, the Great Canadian 300, qualifying means the least of any race because of all the pit strategy and whatnot. So we still go out and spend the money because they let us go out and spend the money, like you said.
You brought it up, Dale. APC schedule came up. 8 races down from 9. No sunsets. 1 extra Delaware. Spencer, you're a wizard. Right on the ball. So Dale, first off, I guess 2-part question. Sunset, the place you ran great at. How bad's that going to hurt your program next year? And dropping 1 race off, that is going to save some money, no?
Yeah. So I feel like this past year we made major strides. Like we got the win at Sauble. We're probably going to run second to Steckley in that race, which I feel like 2 years ago, our equipment at Sauble, we were 10th to 15th place cars, right? Junior Farley at Sauble, he can drive anything good. Like he's just a man there. we ran 5th/6th at Flamborough this year. Felt like we were a lot better. Peterborough ran second. Feel like we had the best cars. So I feel like our program, we've gotten a lot better at all the what I call non-Sunset races, because our package at Sunset was so different than everywhere else. So we just kind of had to reinvent the wheel for us for what can work at all these other racetracks with the tire we're on now. So I just feel like I almost felt more confident rolling into Peterborough and Sauble this year than I did at Sunset. Just because in racing, everything ebbs and flows, and you get good at racetracks, and you're not as good at racetracks. And I'm excited. I feel like we had good speed at the other racetracks. But yeah, so the 8 race thing, I heard a little birdie. There might be a double header or something mixed in, so we might be back up to 9 races. Not sure about that. Nothing's announced. But yeah, I was hoping for a second Peterborough. I ran colors this year. Where did I finish? 3rd, and then we ran second in the APC race, so we had good speed there. I was really hoping we'd be able to go there twice. I don't really have any, details on why we are or are not, but yeah, it seems like a good schedule. Obviously, Delaware is kind of the home of the APC, the United Racing deal, so we assume they would go up to 3 races. Obviously, we're all praying maybe Jukasa, gets reopened again one day. We'd all love to go there any day. I'm pretty sure the majority of Ontario would race there for free, to be honest with you. So, but yeah, no, it looks really good. Really looking forward to it. One of the things I like is our preseason test for APC is always at Delaware, and then Delaware is going to be our first race. So that's good for guys like me who have to get race cars set up to go to a test, and then we're headed in the right direction in the race. We're going to race first at the start of the year, so it should be good. Schedule looks good to me, and really looking forward to getting started.
Nice. Dale, I've only got one more question because we're actually going to have Paul Genioli Jr. on the show tonight. Mm-hmm. How do you guys do it? How do you compete? Now, I know you've got a new shop, and that's super exciting, but you're still not McCall Racing. Mm-hmm. Not just because of the building. There's a lot of great minds at McCall Racing. You guys have some great minds and a lot of great connections. How do you compete, and how proud are you of the product you're able to put on the racetrack?
Well, saying we have good mind or great minds or whatever you said might be an overstatement, but it's just hard work, Adam. Like, I figured that out a couple of years ago. Like, if you're not smarter than anybody, or if you don't have more money than them, you just got to outwork them, right? We had parts dropped off at the door today to try and kind of redo our front end stuff and try and make it better. I pretty much live and breathe the stuff. My wife gets annoying. We went out on a date to the keg for our anniversary in October, and we're sitting at the table, and I'm on my phone. She says, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm on eBox website trying to figure out what kind of a right front spring we need for next year." And it's tough. She knows how it is, and my guys who drive for me know what it is, and I think the reason they don't give up on me is because they know this is all I do, this is all I know, and my goal is to beat all the cars that Paul Geniola guy sends out of his shop every week, and it's kind of become fun because I feel like we're what's the right way to say it? We're giving them a challenge now. Like, I feel like this year we really showed our speed, and it's not just a McCall series. Like, you don't have to have a McCall car to go out and win a race or run top 5 or finish top 5 in points and whatnot. So but I love Paul. He's an amazing guy, and we've had some awesome conversations, and he's an amazing guy, and he puts out a great race car.
Right on, Dale. We always appreciate your insight. We'll be in touch with you over the off season as we continue to roll towards 2026. Always good talking with you.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, feel better, Dale.
Thanks, guys.
Wow, he's always so calm and fast, and his cars run well. They got a great deal. Now, I think that's the beauty of the APC series that we get to see, Adam, is that, a smaller team like the Shaws can make it work. They can win, and McHattie can win in this series. And then you've got the McCall guys who run just as well as everybody else out there. So pretty wild. Let's bring in Paul right now. Our viewers who have watched Racing America or any of the stuff that we've done with the APC series, you definitely see Paul up and down pit road. He's in everybody's pit stall. Paul, you probably log as many steps as we do up and down pit road on a race day, running between all your customers to get them going. First off, what's your official title, and how do you manage all that on a race day?
I don't know what you'd call the official title, Clinton. I guess foreman would be the easiest way. Don't know if I need a title. Just we just kind of work together as much as we can in the back shop. But just need one guy kind of delegating everything. So just so we have a nice flow in the back of the shop. It's kind of tough to challenge all the customers some days on race day, especially when it's a rough race. But I feel like all of our customers and all the racers kind of deserve that attention and that kind of that pride, I guess, to help them through the day. At the end of the day, we spend a lot of money to do what we love, and it's nice to have the support.
Paul, I appreciate you took some time today to chat with me and walk me through. We've been talking about rules packages. We've been talking about different ways sanction bodies can save teams money. I appreciated you walking me through it so much that I called back and said, hey, why don't you come on the show and have some of the conversation? Talk to us about some of the rules that, like the IHRA series has come out with eliminating bump stops and running a spec shock on the car. What are areas on the race car that can save teams money if you didn't have to do it? Like, where is the money best spent to find speed?
The best money spent, I think, is like just in knowledge, whether it be research or whether it be a resource like ourselves where you can reach out to us, text messages and calls, and bringing the car in for a day and spending a day with us, whether it be just for setup or whether it be a pull down or a practice day. I think that's super important. But also like to have your ducks in the right row and have a good crew behind you. I think that's all important stuff to kind of not just the car itself, but also everything around you. I think as far as the shocks go, it's a good rule as far as just to keep the cost down. It's also simple for the tech guy. When you have a sealed shock, it's basically you buy that shock for the part number and you put that on and that's all you get. For the bump springs, my honest opinion is just not really sure if that's a savings thing or not. It's kind of a new thing to a big series like that. My only, I guess, response to feedback would be the ACT cars run no bumps. And they're a very competitive series. Not that the bump springs kind of take away all money side of things, but they definitely help the series as far as a little bit of simplicity, but we still work on those cars just as hard as we would an APC car with bump springs. So it's kind of a toss up, but it's definitely nice to see that they're trying something or they're experimenting with it.
Paul, I'm going to ask you to talk to us like we're all kindergartners now, because we got dirt people here too. So explain a bump stop in the most simple form and why it runs up the cost.
So your most simple form, I guess, would be we classify a bump spring as your dynamic or your on-track ride control. So basically, we would have a big spring to control the car through tech. And then once the car hits the racetrack, it travels down to its max loads, and those max loads are picked up by the bump springs. If you don't have bump springs, you're basically just, your main spring is now just a stiffer spring, so your total rates are the same when you're dynamic to keep the car off the ground.
Okay.
The tough part
you lost us at dynamic as soon as you said
that.
No. Okay, so let me try, Paul. Maybe you can clarify before I throw it out. So traditional springs, we all get that. We're running on coils, right? Yep. Typically. Bump springs, that means we're slamming the front end down and there's very little spring action in the front of these cars. Is that what we're resulting back to with a bump spring?
Correct. So your main spring, or what would be on your coilover, would be a soft enough spring that if you didn't have the bump springs, the car would be hitting off the ground. If you're conventional without bump springs, you're stiff enough that it will travel to the ground, but there's a limitation of eventually you're going to meet that max load with the big spring.
Cool.
But the hard part is to kind of answer the question, like just to say yes or no whether it'll save money, is there's just as much research that goes into a car that has no bump springs as there is a car that has bump springs. Like we spend just as much time swapping out on the racetrack or on the pull down rig with our ACT cars as we do our prolates. So it's kind of a toss up of whether it saves money, because sometimes we're racers and we want to find the edge no matter what it takes.
You know, and it's interesting you say that, Paul, because every year there's new advances. Every year you seem to find something, because we noticed the latest McCall car often runs better than the year before or the year before. And I know that's created some challenges at the racetrack because, as you say, they're all your customers. But how hard is it to try to make a car as fast as the latest and greatest when it just isn't equipped the same way?
It's pretty difficult. I mean, not that it's not possible, because sometimes you just end up with, like I say, a good package where you've got a driver and a team that just gel well together, whether it be just in the dynamics of the team or whether it just be the knowledge of what they have to make that car work. The odd time you'll find a car that just works better than the rest of them. But oftentimes we find ourselves trying to catch up to the new stuff we put in. And I mean, eventually it comes to a point where, you have to sit down with the customer and the racer and just kind of let them know that you feel you've reached as far as you can with what they've got for equipment.
Paul, there's been a lot of announcements coming out of the States. Most recently, the ASA revamp, IHRA's new deal. Any of those things catch your eye as a new idea or a fresh idea that looks like, hey, there's something new that is interesting?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, anytime something big like that comes out, we're all in and trying to research about it to see if we can build a car like that to run down there. Just kind of brief through the rules. I haven't really read depth into them, but it's definitely exciting to see a new series like that. It's good for the sport. It's good for the industry. Whether or not one of our guys will be able to run that series someday, I'm not sure, but definitely would be open to that, of course, to try something new and spread our wings down there a little bit.
Of all the series that you support right now, or of all the series that you have customers in, Paul, what's your favorite to succeed with? Which feels the best when your car goes out there and really outperforms?
That's a good question. I don't think I have a favorite. I think the easiest one, because it's close to home, is APC. There's just so many of our customers there that we work so closely with. Not to say they don't appreciate the NASCAR. I don't want to say that or sound like that, but the NASCAR guys use this very much as a resource for most cases. So it's almost like when you go with a late model, it's more of you feel for that guy that's working hard by himself and been bugging you all week on the phone to try and figure out his race car. So sometimes that's a little nicer to do for them. But all in all, I mean, any racetrack we're going to, we're trying to win, and when we win, it feels pretty damn good.
You got a lot of cars out there, a lot of chances. You got a lot of chips on that roulette wheel every Saturday, Paul. So, a good shot. One of you guys are going to have a good run. How are we doing in Ontario? Are we in a good spot in the state of late models right now? Can we make it better? Can we fix something? What do we need to pick? What do we need to improve?
I would say with the late models, I would say they're probably the best right now. Just in everything kind of goes through cycles. So every year we may build more NASCARs than prolates and more super stocks than prolates. So it's kind of it's hard to say. You don't really want to judge to say this series is no good or it's going the wrong way. So I feel like if you want to go into years past, like the past 3, 4, 5 years have been really good for us. And I think this year it was a little bit slow, but like it's picked up quite a bit. We just had like maybe a couple weeks that were slow, and I think the industry is good. We have maybe lost car count, but I feel like, you know, when you look at the APC, because it's close to home for us, there's so much talent there. It's crazy. Not just our customers either.
No, the quality of car is good for sure. Paul, I want to say this while you're still with us because we spoke about it on the phone. It's not that I've called people out. I just get a little nostalgic thinking, boy, I wish people could still work out of their garage and set up a car on jack stands or however they would do it at home. Not that I begrudge McCall's. You guys do a great job, perform a great service. But I want to make sure I made that clear. There's no shade or hatred or dislike towards your business. It's just a matter of what used to be a build it out of your own shop. But then you brought up a good point on the phone. You don't have to name the name, but someone who doesn't necessarily go to your place every week for a setup, only if they come up against a roadblock and you're still there as a resource for them.
Correct. Yeah. Like I told you on the phone, like it kind of goes back to my roots as well. You know, I started with Dad and I in the shop just by ourselves, and you know, you read books and you call whoever you have to call to try and figure out how to get faster. And I'll always respect that. And like we had Dale Shaw on the show here, and that's a prime example of people doing it in their own shop and still making it work. I can appreciate that a lot because I know how much work goes into that week to week and all year long, basically. But there will always be an appreciation for that. But also to that point is there's a spot for them as well. I feel like in our company because we need people like that to succeed, and whether it be calling us for information or just getting basic parts, that's important to us too. It doesn't always have to be that big guy that's spending lots of money or housing most of his cars with us. You know, it's the small guys that keep the sport and the industry going too.
Right on, Paul. Thanks for your time tonight. We appreciate it. Now we got your number. We'll be knocking on that door a little more often.
Yeah, 10-4. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Paul.
Man, we see him work out a lot.
Smart.
So many teams up and down pit road. Yeah, if our cameras appear under your hood, good chance if you're a McCall customer, Paul's right beside us. It's bringing more insiders into the deal. So much stuff's going on. I don't think Jason Haskell's going to make it. Got a message. They're still traveling, so we'll work on that for maybe next week. But our next guest is ready to join us. Tony Blanchard's going to jump in and join us now. Adam, you did a lot of work with Tony with the Race 101 deal down in the States. I know a lot of racers from up here still benefit from it, what they learned. Let's talk about – I'll throw it to you, Adam, to tell us why we brought Tony on tonight.
Yeah, Tony, welcome. It was so good to talk to you earlier on. I'm glad you figured out the technology to join us.
Yeah, I hope we have.
I think so. I can see you. It's half of you on the screen anyhow. The Tony I remember was a little bit bigger, but hey, you still resemble him.
Yeah, a little bit. Took some time off from racing, got my health better, took some time to be, relaxed and look at the sport and enjoy, and just really worked on longevity of myself. I gave so much to the sport, eat bad, run the roads, and needed to be a little bit better.
So, Tony, we brought you on to talk technical because you do a pretty good job of taking real smart person things and bringing it down a notch, but also the way you view the sport is very, well, the way you view the business is very realistic. What's your thought? And we'll start real vague. What's your thought on the new announcement that the IHRA put out? Spec shocks, no bump stops, trying to make things affordable for the racer.
You can't fault someone for trying to do something to help racers. The problem that I see with it is the travel that's going to be involved. The racer you're trying to reach really doesn't have the ability to budget and do 15, 20-hour trips normally. And the cars that the people that race are going to go to the bigger shows are already established. So you're trying to take a localized 2 or 3 track in one state or province rules package and give it to people to travel hundreds of miles. So I think there's some limitations. There's some things that are good, things that are bad. But nothing is ever going to work. Both people that you just had on covered it. Education is going to be what makes it work. There is no rules package. There is no magic anything other than being able to take care of your car and work within the rules that you race with. But they put the big money out there to draw attention, and they did a good job.
It's kind of what Adam and I were arguing about the other day, right? Adam, you hearing a rundown? Says Adam says pros go away. This is a series for the young, for the smaller guys. We don't need any of these big dogs coming in here and stealing this money. But I kind of felt the same way, Adam. I think the distance between the races, and I think Tony hit it perfect. The market they're trying to hit is spread a little thin there. Tony, let's switch gears for a second. What's the biggest mistake small race teams are making these days?
Ooh. I think that I see over time that people that excel in a level and move up and go in with aspirations of doing better, and they kind of race out of their budget. I mean, it's what everybody tries to do. This particular industry is so unique. If you have the money, you can go do it. And if you run out of money, you can't do it. So there is no prerequisites. There's nothing that makes it where you have to earn anything or do anything except buy it and show up. And that is something that really hurts the racers. They hurt themselves. I mean, if I told Adam earlier today, there's only one real true in asphalt, in my opinion, one true racing car series or level that's true to everybody, and that's a street stock. Those cars are built by families, built by groups, and passed on from grandfather to father to son to cousin, and they build them. And in this type racing, if you come across and make money, you can go buy whatever from McCall. You can rent a ride, and they serve a great need. I do not want anyone to think that I'm thinking negative of McCall or anybody. But, you go buy the best grill, it doesn't make you a chef. And you either tear up a bunch of your cars or tear up a bunch of people that's trying to race. And that's the biggest problem. There is no standard.
I loved the comparison you made. Do you remember the one you said anybody with enough money can show up and drive in almost any race they want? And what did you compare that to, Tony? What other sport?
Well, I mean, if I won the lottery tomorrow and I become hundreds of millions of dollars rich, I can't go pitch for the New York Yankees. I can't buy that spot. I can't go play hockey. I can't do any other sport really. And there's some people won't disagree, but if I've got a check, and I've seen it, I've seen the approval process. I've talked to the people, what they wanted to do, who they wanted to approve, and whatever. But you literally could go tomorrow and buy a ride and go to Snowflake with the other 75 cars that are there, and you could line up and race. And it's got its pros, it's got its cons. And I think the biggest thing is I've heard this said tonight. What's the best thing for a racer? What's the rules package for a racer? Well, what is a racer? Is it a racer is not someone that shows up with a check. They're a fortunate individual that gets to do what a lot of people love to do, but that does not make them a racer. A racer is somebody, pick Mike Westwood. He is a great guy. As long as he's, like I told earlier, if he's got tubing and a welder, he's going to have a race car. And there's people in dirt, there's people in asphalt. Dale, a while ago, lives and breathes it. And the people that are fortunate enough to have businesses to make large amounts of money and had a good go-kart when they were a kid and want to go be racing, they're not racers. And when we have that, we have obstacles, and the people that come in that can afford to spend the money and do the research with a McCall because they have so many cars, that pushes them up in, a level over Dale or other small teams because they see more cars and get to experiment with more stuff. And it goes right back to what I said before. The more educated you are about your race car and your series and what you're doing, you can bypass a lot of the wasted money. And evidently Dale's doing a great job doing that. Education is the basis of what's going to save racing.
Now, for those who don't know, Tony's got a long history in racing. Worked with Joey Logano as a teenager, won a bunch of races with Joey. He's mentored a lot of drivers and shown up to a lot of racetracks, whether it's an ARCA car or super late model or pro late model. Tony, what was your proudest moment in this business?
Ooh. I guess personally was walking into Daytona as a car owner, which was a thing that I had with my dad because he died early. As far as other drivers, I can't say. I mean, everybody's got their own ability, and I've seen people excel above their ability, even though they may not have done as good as the next driver, as long as they put in the effort and excelled over what they thought they could do. I've worked with some of the greatest drivers that I've worked with. Nobody will ever know, because the ones truly, there's 3 or 4 that's had the ability to get lucky on some things to make strides, but you only really see the ones with a bunch of money.
Tony, before we let you go here, there's been a few rule packages announced, a couple of payout packages announced. Anything, I'll ask the same question I asked Paul, anything that you saw that said, hey, there's a fresh idea, I like that, these guys are moving in the right direction?
I like when they restrict tires. Don't really like when you restrict shocks. I'm a big fan of bump stops, just for what they do. And, bump stops, really, their sole purpose used to be to get through tech at a ride height. And then if you got through ride height, you went down and sat on bump stops. If you go back to the Ed Howe days, he used to unload a car and put 3,000-pound springs in it and have a 2-inch ride height. They put ride height in it. You had to put softer springs to be able to get back down to what they were doing 50 years ago or 60 years ago. But if they can, help save cost, I think in the tires, but, bodies are one of the things that's brought up cost of racing more than anything else, because everybody's got to run the same body. ABC was brought in to make bodies more uniform. Dirt racers, outlaws, sportsmen in Florida take 5 pieces of aluminum and a roof, make a car. Then you got something that's unique. That's what's great about street stock racing, is a Camaro running against a Thunderbird, against a Monte Carlo, or like the car in my background. They all look the same, except for the stickers.
Tony, I think we'll try to pull. Yeah, we'll try to pull you in a little bit this winter, because Clint, it's fun to get Tony wound up and talking, because he gets he's always intelligent, but he gets a little more jaded as he goes. Like you can get him in moments where the truth starts to come out of him. Not that he's spoken any mistruths here, but it gets pretty entertaining. And maybe, Tony, we can do some, a little bit of conversations about where race teams can go out into the shop and find speed in this off season, areas that they can look. And you've educated a lot of people over time.
Yeah, I mean, if they want to send y'all some questions and you can forward them to me, I could, we could highlight whatever's, if you get 10 people asking the same thing or something, I'll be glad to do whatever I can. I love the sport. I went away from it for a while. We're building another car right now. I've got another car that I built a couple years ago. I was bragging on my son a while ago for doing welding on it. And it's fun to be a racer, but it's tough to race with people that are there that are not racers sometimes. But you get 1 or 2 out of every 10 that are great for the sport. But there's a lot of people that are, when I'm spotting, I call them landmines. You got to watch out for them.
Okay, I got one
Hey,
technical question, Tony. Before you get into this, Tony, I've heard both you and Paul say this. Now, I like to joke I'm a manager announcer, so I know a bit about mechanics, but I'm not a mechanic. So I've heard both of you say we're running traditional springs to make it through tech for ride heights, and then we roll on the bump stops when we're racing. Why are we even measuring ride heights at all if it's common knowledge that everybody's letting the nose drop on the bump stops?
I really have no clue other than I'll go long. Okay, when we started racing, you had cars at a ride height. Then people started lowering them down. This is 70s. Then we went into a ride height rule to keep them up off the racetrack, because like street stocks are 8 or 10 or whatever. So then they built what was, a drop snout car, which lowered all the suspension parts. But the motor was still sitting high. On the drop snout car, you run 3,000-pound springs. Really heavy springs because you couldn't travel, you'd hit the cross member, but you already had the suspension set. So we already had bump stops in the 90s, 80s and 90s, but they were big springs. From that point, they wanted to travel and lower the motor. So then we started lowering the motor down and raising the clip back up, so we needed to travel. Then we went through the stage of you got to have a minimum roof height. So then you built the chassis to the point that it was up and the body was up, and you remember seeing cars going through tech with 15-inch noses. That was so the roof height would match, and the motor was up. At that point, we started traveling down. Then shocks came into play to hold it down to get the attitude. Once you get to that point, we were hitting the racetracks and bottoming out. People started putting foam rubbers on, which Penske had for years. From foam rubbers, we went into springs, which was the bump springs. Now we've got springs, rubbers, neoprene, bevel washers, anything you can come up with, and now we're using that to increase the traction of the tire. The tires have gotten to the point that they're not good enough to keep up with the traction that we can put in with the bump springs. So it's the evolution that's going through that we're actually repeating what we did in the 60s of trying to get back down, get everything as low as possible, and ride on a heavy bump spring or similar to get through the corner. So as long as we don't have ride heights, you don't really have to have the fancy high travel springs that they sell. You can go with a more stock spring, and then you can calculate. And then you get into wheel load. Wheel load is calculated between the spring and the bump spring. So this whole process of doing it, it really goes back to, I need a certain amount of spring load to keep the race car off the track at a certain height with a certain load, with a certain tire. And if tech's not involved in ride height, I don't need any of that. I just sit down and go. I can take bump springs off and put heavy springs on at a smooth track. And it's just a combination from there on.
So what I took from all that, Adam, is we just need to eliminate roof ride heights, and racing would be a lot cheaper and simpler. Is that right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Always
remember, if they say they're making a rule to save you money, double your budget.
Fair enough.
For the rest of my racing life, I want to have a Tony in my pocket. When something happens, I just pull him out and say, "Please explain to me what just." So I told you, Clint. If you get him going, and you're the one who asked the right question, it falls out as though it's wild. It's wild to me, Tony. Always has been. But my question was going to be:
officials would agree.
I don't doubt it. What are you going to race?
What, this coming up?
Yeah, the car you're building.
We'll debut that in January. I'll let you know. It's not anything south of the border.
Oh, I love it.
Oh, so something up here?
Possibly.
All
Sarah's
right.
going home.
Well, you let us know. You let us know when
All
you're
right,
ready
Tony.
to,
Thank you so
to
much.
reveal it.
Appreciate it, guys.
Yeah, it was good talking
Thanks,
to you, Tony.
Wow, I feel like I got smarter and dumber and smarter all in the same show here today.
Yes, that's
needed
exactly
Christmas
what a
break.
conversation. Yeah,
My brain.
Tony knows how intelligent he is, and he's always speaking cautiously to not leave you behind. But once in a while, when he starts like when the wheels start turning, you could see how he got going in that progression. He went through 30 to 40 years of stock car racing in about 90 seconds.
I was doing my best to hold on to the back of the draft there. You know, almost got left behind, but we managed to make it work. Let's have some fun. Oh, man, see, we write all these topics, and I don't even know what they mean. So, Adam, pros go away. We already kind of touched on that. You want to go further down that road?
So here's what it was. Yeah. We're talking about this IHRA rules package, and, people aren't going to be drawn to it. These big ASA teams, these big teams that are already running the cars to screw yourselves. They don't need you. The reason they don't need you is because there is not a driver in North America that will help a racetrack sell tickets. Bubba Pollard used to come up to Jukasa for the big nationals up here, the short track nationals. And I believe that was more to draw racers than it was to draw fans, because I don't think fans are going to buy tickets because they want to watch Bubba Pollard. They'll buy tickets to see Kyle Larson or Dale Jr., but there is not a driver racing in ASA or cars or down at the Snowball Derby that would help you sell 10 more tickets to your race than bringing in a good series like the World of Outlaws. That name still sells tickets. That series. It used
Even
to be.
there, I'm looking at, we're looking at from the VIP booth at Oshweek back at the grandstands, and I was standing with Steve Lyons, and the very bottom corners weren't full. And I'm like, that's where you need one of those drivers, a Larson, to pack those corners. A Christopher Bell, someone of that ilk to come down, a Tony Stewart to pack the place like that for you. And not to say the Outlaws didn't do an amazing job. We're having them back, obviously. And
it was a great show.
Go to Oshweek. Fantastic. 2 great days. Look for the same again in July this year, so that's even more exciting.
But that is my point when I say pros go away, because it doesn't matter. The pros don't help you sell tickets.
Okay. AI has gotten out of control here, Adam. So, Spencer, show the Weber Valley picture of the neck guard, because AI in racing does have a place. Okay, Weber Valley is knocking it out with their fictitious racetrack and these comedic rules they put up in these pictures all the time. For example, this week, new rule, all budget classes must now wear neck braces made from rolled up towels and duct tape. No fancy store ones allowed. Promoter Jeb will be selling them at the pit gate when you get to the track. You must buy them straight from him or you'll be banged. Banned, I guess. Okay, so there's an example of AI work. Then Thanksgiving comes out in America, and every racer hits the AI button. And the first guy, gal who does it, first racer who does it, I think it's great. By the 10th time I've seen it, I want to freaking puke. Show a couple of these float picture, Spencer. And I don't think I picked anybody really around here, but man, it's just so it's great. AI can do this, can make your race car look like a Macy's Day float. But by the time we've seen 13 of them by noon that day, can't do it no more, Adam. And you kind of felt the same, right?
It was awful. The best post I saw, and I'm trying to find it, it was Pete McDonald marked safe from showing an AI generated race car at a parade today. Like, yes.
It was a Thanksgiving epidemic across social media that last Thursday, and it was everywhere. We only picked out 2, and they were everywhere.
Oh, there were so many.
And I
Alvarez
get
is
it.
right.
Hey, if I had a race car, I'd want to see it in that kind of thing. But everybody sharing it, it's kind of like, I don't know. I'll just.
Funny thing is, Clint, I feel that way about car shows. I don't get much of a thrill seeing a car parked. Even though a lot of work went into it, I can appreciate that. But to me, a car should be driving somewhere, right? It should be driven. I like seeing that.
Yeah.
I want to hear it.
Not the best segue, but Motorama Night of Champions. I got a message from Bryce Turner, said, to the Ashweekan racers, and I'm going to extend it out to the Ontario racers because we know they're all welcome. If you're an Ontario racer and you want a championship, go to MotoRamaShow.com and click on the Night of Champions registration. Register. You're going to be there and get recognized in March at Motorama.
We're going to fight, aren't we?
Because I said Motorama or Motorama? What?
No. I'm over that.
What are we going to fight about? Because I forget what media means.
This is about Lenny Salmons, the owner of Area Auto Racing News.
Oh, yes.
Not being allowed to attend the Turkey Derby at Wall Stadium. And you did your typical Clinton Geoffrey, stick your chest out. So, yeah, I don't have to let anybody into my track I don't want to.
I did not do it that way. I said, okay, so Area Auto News, obviously racing paper. The reading between the lines on the internet was that an unfavorable write-up or write-ups were put out about the Speedway, and the promoter said, yeah, we're not honoring your media passes, and we don't even want you on the property. So, it's private property. If you come in, and let's put it in our terms, Ashweekan, if you come in and throw shit at Ashweekan Speedway in your magazine or your website or your podcast, why do I have to let you in? And I don't. Blow it out your ass.
Don't.
Buy a ticket.
Right.
Come and do what you want.
They sold more subscriptions to Area Auto by doing this than Lenny ever could have on the week of Thanksgiving. Oh my God, everyone in the world's coming to the defense of Lenny Salmons. He's a great guy. He's this, he's that. Yeah, he's a great guy. He's paid his dues. He's done his thing. What Wall Stadium did was give him oxygen. They fanned flames that weren't really even there. And all of a sudden, everybody's up in arms. When was the last time Area Auto News was relevant?
Okay, so let me back it up. First off, by saying no, that one guy who sent me an email and I declined, that's not really fanning the flames. If I came out and made a post and beat on my chest and said, hey, Adam Ross from Butthead Race News is not allowed on our property anymore, that's fanning the fire. We don't know how this went down. We're just speculating.
Repercussions.
I mean, I saw it on the Hard Clay Observer, so who knows where it really originated from.
Right.
But why? Answer me this. As a media guy, why do I... So you still didn't explain why I need to let you come into the racetrack. You've explained how you may benefit from it by selling
my point is,
whatever you're selling.
My point, it doesn't matter if you do or if you don't. You don't get to choose what's a big deal. You can choose to let people in or not let people in, and you can either look like a jerk or people can get behind you and say, yeah, that Clinton Geoffrey's right. They shouldn't be allowed in that track. And there have been situations over the years that have led people to be welcomed in or not welcomed in. I think it's short-sighted. There's a lot of tracks down in the States. It's challenging to get media credentials for a dirt race in New York State right now. Because there used to be, well, Look at Super Dirt Week. There was only Gator Racing News and Ariado Racing News. Yet there's 50 photographers there. But Glenn Donnelly knew those 50 photographers.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. So he's got more history. But those 50 photographers are doing your dirty work all summer long, going to the events that lots of people don't go to and helping to hype that up. So it's kind of the thank you that you give them for a big event, even though on that huge event, maybe it doesn't mean a lot to you. But it does mean a lot if they're showing up at different events to help. There's pros and cons, but what I'm saying is if you get into a shit-slinging competition on social media, the other person has already won because you're giving attention to something that wouldn't normally warrant attention.
Fran said the Ariado writer, Earl Krause, that was not allowed in, was the former Wall announcer. So that would be equivalent to like me letting Greg go or Greg quitting and then him going to inside track and throwing shit at us with inside information and all the dirt. You know. So I can understand. There's obviously there's more blood there than we know.
Yeah, I don't even know how scathing it was, what was written, but there's a lot of feelings get involved, right? People can do what they want, but keep in mind what you might think is not a big deal can turn into a big deal in a big hurry.
Yeah, I don't know how many people are going to... And you know what? You said, oh, he sold more things. Yeah, everybody says they ran out and bought a membership or a subscription to support them. Bullshit. How many people actually get off their wallet these days and do anything? It's all virtue signaling. I support Lenny, and you do shit. You go eat your coffee and go back to reading the other stuff on the internet. Right?
I did like to... Now, I don't think it was AI generated, but there was a plane pulling a banner over Wall Stadium on the day of the race. So subscribe to Ariado Race. Looks pretty real.
That's a good little pushback. Oh, excuse me. All right. We've got a few more minutes to get through here. We got some pictures to look at. Let's go to the Dome stuff first. Jason Haskell was traveling through a deal, and we'll talk to a couple of other Dome competitors hopefully next week too. Show the preparation of the Dome, Spencer. They started out with the indoor. Well, that's the end result. And pretty wild process of them building this track, Adam, inside. Looks like a great event. I don't know if you caught it, but Cody Summer, who's the promoter of this event, was talking about a sprint car race. And it was pretty scathing on Chaz's show. I caught a bit of it, saying he doesn't trust Brian Carter. He would not do business with Dirt Vision or Carter in particular. Called him out by name, called him a liar. It was wild, the stuff that was said on Chaz's show, if you get a chance to check it out. And he was talking about what it would take to do another standalone sprint car event inside. One of the other pictures I sent Spencer today was Rico's response. Rico says, let's do it, figure it out, make it work. Let's get indoors. I want to officially put my name in the hat for the 2026 Gateway Dirt Nationals. Not a joke. I'd love to do some beat banks. So he wants to do late model racing, but there's talk of a sprint car deal possibly as well. At least, you know, they're at least talking about it. So it's plausible to make it happen.
They would have to tether each car to a pole in the infield so they don't fly 10 rows up the grandstands.
Yeah, they're not really getting going that fast. It's more of a slow bump and grind. You know, they could still jump the fence, but it's not like getting a straightaway run at Port Royal and jumping wheels where you're already carrying 150 miles an hour down the straightaway.
I'll buy you two tickets at the end of the straightaway in the corner, front row.
Perfect. I won't be there. Let's look at Dome. The other thing, the Dome pictures, Spencer, the late model pictures I sent of the 25 and the 555. I don't know what's going on in the Dome, Adam, and I gotta wonder. Every car. So this is an invitation only, as I understand. You can't just show up and race. You have to have been invited or put in an application. There's a process to get on the field. Have you noticed that every single car in the Dome has a brand new wrap on it so far this year that I've seen? Everybody's going out to town. And I got to wonder if it was part of the clause to get in that you had to bring a brand new looking car or a new paint scheme or something to add to the excitement of the event.
You know,
I've yet to see one that isn't brand new.
I wanted to bring that up because I've been watching some races out of the vault on Dirt Vision. And even back in around 2001, which racing was really fun for us at that time. We're just, 25, 30 years old. Not many of these cars had full wraps. Now all of them do. That's a lot of freaking money. Like, you look where people are spending money. There used to be cars with a number on them.
Yeah. I think in our region, like Merrittville and the dirt kind of here, especially Merrittville. I mean, where I grew up, I was shocked when I went to other racetracks and didn't see them all wrapped up. It's just like every car at Merrittville and Humberstone and Ransville, like they always were just gorgeous, done up. And I think, they were ahead of the times. But yeah, you're right. Everything is now. I got to wonder, though, I got to get to the bottom of that. Did you have to bring a brand new wrap or a new style? Because everybody's doing it, and everybody's promoting the shit out of it. I got to wonder, is there a bonus or some type of program for the promotions you do? Because everybody in this dome race has been promoting the shit out of it. So as a promoter,
well,
I'm
let's
find
wait
out
until
what
the
heck they're
cars.
doing there.
Let's wait till the cars roll out and see if any of them look like a crumpled up potato chip bag, and then we'll know.
Been a lot of
Because
gorgeous stuff coming out, though.
If mine does look like that, I'm probably not all over social media leading up to the race showing it off.
That's fair. I'm just shocked how many drivers. And to me, because it's a beat and bang race, why would you put a brand new body and wrap on this thing knowing you're probably not coming out of it? I mean, that's the place that tears the right rears off these late models without even them hitting anything. The fence rips it off every second lap. So,
see, yes.
It's exciting, though. Catch it this weekend. Lots of racing. Got Snowball and the Dome this weekend for the dirt guys and the asphalt guys. All right, let's run through some of these other pictures, Spencer. I don't need the IHRA payouts. We already talked about that. Let's run through some picture drops since Spencer's a big meanie and won't let us do. Okay, congratulations to the French family. This is from Brighton's. How big does a trophy have to be? Is that a 6-foot trophy? And what does that cost?
I think they make their own trophies now.
Okay, I still ask, how big does a trophy have to be?
Green.
5-foot trophies. Oh my goodness.
I'm looking at Connor's from Labor Day. It's a good 3 feet tall. But I'll tell you, I heard a few people really complimenting the trophies that you gave away at Oswego for Rookie of the Year. It was just a very short one, but with a big, heavy sprint car on it. It's classy, though.
Yep. Right on. And, of course, Spencer has to show the first picture. It's got to be the Brighton picture. Ange is already big-timing me. Give me a one-note answer today. Wouldn't take our call for the other thing we requested. I actually wondered today if I'm in shit with Ange today because she just wasn't giving me she's not giving me no attention anymore. So
just kind of a big deal.
Fine. Yeah. All right, moving on to some other pictures. What do we got, Spencer? Oh, just stuff we collect through the week. This is Merv Treichler. When the Batmobile showed up, they took their car home overnight, tried to make it big, bad, and ugly themselves, and boy, that is ugly. Was one of the top finishers on the day, but could not beat the Batmobile on that hallowed day.
Yeah, I think he ran second or third, but they all went home and kind of redesigned what they could.
Jeff Bodine had a wild-looking deal, too. A lot of them just ran with what they had, but a few of them tried to make the call. All right, Spencer, what else? Go ahead, Adam. Finish your thought.
I don't like his head being through the roll cage like that, though.
Old school stuff back in the day. Yeah, that's a little too close for comfort.
Yes, it is.
But back then, that was an era where you didn't even need to roll the roll cage if you didn't want to half the time. Like, it was your own head.
Safety
Nobody
second.
cared. All right, moving on, Spencer. Jeff Waters here. Couldn't remember what his name was, Adam, if you look at the bottom. Thought he would just strut into the bank and write himself a check and cash it for $368 billion. Just like,
Listen.
Yeah, not trying to get like $700 or nothing. $368 billion. Didn't deposit it. He tried to cash it and thought the bank would just have $368 billion on hand.
What's that old saying? Whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, you're probably right. in this case, he wasn't right.
I
He missed
thought
the mark.
huge balls, and that guy's a racer somewhere. He's like, I just had 368 million. I could finally beat Johnson over there. All right,
That's it.
what else, Spence? Ty Majeski, a message against the over the big race that happened at Freedom Factory. Said fresh off his truck, series champion Ty Majeski pocketed 35 grand for second place at the Bill Bagley Memorial, but his post-race praise stole the spotlight. Basically saying it was more refreshing than NASCAR's gimmicks, like stage breaks and overtime chaos. Pretty wild with all this stuff going on that he would come out and say that, he was just happy to race the full distance and not have these stage breaks and any of the gimmicks that go on.
Yeah, no, NASCAR's too busy to be worried about what he's saying. They got bigger fish to fry.
Wow, do they ever? What a crazy bit of story. We've been trying to get Matt Weaver on. We need to get some inside information. I was going to ask Tony what he thought, but man, that might have really put him over the edge tonight. So, pretty crazy. We'll follow that NASCAR story. We could comment on it every week, but I think we just wait and see how it plays out, and then wrap it up at the end.
Nobody's
What else
going
we
to
got,
win.
Spence? No. Unica Rome returns to the dirt sanctioning in 2026. They announced this, Adam. Thrilled to announce to be back there. Renamed dirt car. I shared this because you can't make it to the track. Catch every lap on flow. Did you find that confusing?
Well, yes and no. Their top dirt car class is the 358 modifieds. So it sort of gives you carte blanche to do whatever the hell you want. I think if you're a big block track, you kind of have to follow certain protocols. But as a small block track or a sportsman track, and it must open it up differently. I don't know.
But this is the equivalent of saying, look, I'm joining back with NASCAR, but I'm using F1's platform. It doesn't make any sense. You're signing back with Dirt. Dirt owns Dirt Vision, and then you're going to put all their races on their biggest competitor. I'm shocked that the guys at Dirt in North Carolina allowed that to be in the release. That you can even say those 3 FLO words in a dirt car release.
Was it a dirt car release or was it a Utica Rome release?
I'm saying you're announcing that you're going back to dirt car, and in the same piece, you're saying you're going to be on their competitive network. I understand. Maybe I shouldn't say that. I could understand that there's other deals, but still, to me, that would be as 2 separate press releases. Hey, we're going back to dirt car, and then the next day you put out, by the way, you can catch all the information on flow.
Do you remember when we did a media release for one of the drivers who was going to be racing in the NASCAR race at Ohsweken? And their handlers, the driver's handler says, no, this is how he is to be referred to.
Yes.
Go screw yourself. We do not answer to you. I respect your message, but pound salt.
Still, that's a bit of a different situation, too. You're not in business with those people. Anyways,
right.
I'm going to try and find out why they did that. How'd that come about? What's up next, Spencer? Oh, there's a few pictures about New Egypt. New Egypt says they're not going to open unless they get new ownership group. The current owners, the Valstings, have said they're not going to open. So pretty wild. They're adding another dirt track on the cusp of not being able to get it going. And as Brett Deo says, let's try and get Brett on next week. The entire industry of parts vendors, chassis builders, go back to that, Spence. Fuel, apparel, streaming services, touring services, and the people employed by these companies rest on the backs of track promoters, many of whom are on the verge of operating or not. This will not be the last. It's an industry with rising costs, a lot of negativity, and very limited window to operate with weather. Brett says it all there, especially for this core audience where we are situated. Our ownership has a very small window to make money. The more negative shit they have to deal with, the less they care to. And when there's no money being made or very little, the juice becomes not worth the squeeze. You know, and I don't want to step on anybody's toes, but I know of 2 tracks that have recently canceled and closed up here in Ontario that the ownership group absolutely had the money to keep it going and keep it alive, but said, screw it, man. It is not worth the bullshit anymore. So It's up to us as an industry to treat these track owners like you would your elders and give them the respect. Even if you're not happy with the decisions they made on the playground that they provide for you to play on. And I just want to go back a little bit too, Adam, to talk about back to the area auto versus, or let's say media versus a promoter or speedway. A lot of these speedways are their own worst enemy because they don't do a good enough job and they need to have some things pointed out in the media. But then there's other things where tracks have it together and people are just looking for shit to throw at them because they can't find any real cracks. So it's a two-way street there as well. Nothing? All right. Let's go, Spencer.
I agree. I know you close that up well.
Lane Zardo selling to part this car out, but keeping the body at him. You know what that means? Could be a Zardo hot rod coming down the line. Sheldon knows of this thing, Spencer. It's a beast of a car.
That's awesome.
So, super cool. I got my Oscar shirt on today, by the way.
I saw that.
Shout out to Kim and Don. They do a great job, and it's awesome stuff. Oscar's got some great apparel. Make sure you check it out. I found it in my pile of shirts over there, and I was looking for something, scrambling last minute for something to put on, and I was like, oh, cool. Where's that been?
I'm supporting
right.
Ma. Love Ma.
What else, Spencer? He said 30 pictures. Can't I mean? I believe it's 16 years since we lost John Maskenberg on the left there, and of course our buddy Bruce Mellenbacher. Adam, I had to share this because I would love to know what Mellenbacher thinks of streaming, or not Mellenbacher, Maskenberg thinks of streaming, where we are, this whole G-Force thing. Man, what I wouldn't give to have a beer with John now and pick his brain a little bit about the state of where we are. Great guy, great ambassador, and did a lot for all things motorsports here in Canada. What else, Spencer?
He was large. He was larger than life.
It's a cool story from the AJ Foyt fan club. This is the dirt car that almost won on a paved track. When AJ Foyt's car didn't arrive in 1965 at the Milwaukee Mile, his mechanic encouraged him to try qualifying his dirt car from the day before. 1963, Muskowski. Tires were swapped, and what happened next became legend. Foyt qualified in the pole position and almost even won the race, had it not been for a late race fuel and tire stop. Foyt considered this his second-place finish, one of the highlights of his career. I thought that was a neat story. Cool-looking car.
Yeah.
Strader's got one of those things in his shop, too. It's badass. Okay, Spence, keep them rolling here. We got to get here. We are way late. ASA Tour, we talked about this briefly. Milestone announcement, new ownership, reshaped short track racing. Kind of a shot back over the bow after IHRA came out last week, Adam.
Yeah,
tough to say.
I suppose they had to do something, but it's really a press release that has no information in it, except that their finale is going to be $100,000 to win. That's great, but it was a lot of just words. Word soup.
Next. I just love it, man. We just talked about Oscar Hot Rods. What a gorgeous car, eh? Holy damn. It's got the stance. It's got the nose. It's got the fins. It's got the roof. Yeah. Man, that's a gorgeous car. So my dream, Adam, win the lottery. I'm not going out to bang wheels and wreck other guys. I'm buying one of them for the street. And we're going to get ice cream and drive to every racetrack we ever wanted to.
There you go. I respect that.
Definitely. That's my dream. Get a roadworthy race car that we can cruise around. One more picture. And we're almost done. Show it. You know who that is?
Is that the latest entry for the Snowball Derby?
I don't think so. That's Mac DeMan.
Well, okay. There you go.
You're talking about someone's posting something, and Mac was saying that when he was starting to race, he had to race with blocks taped to his shoes, and that's what's going on there, so he could practice when he was too small.
Yeah, that's awesome.
We got to get Mac on.
Yeah, no,
someone's asking for an Oscar race. Oscar Hot Rods at Oshweek.
It's not the worst idea.
We've talked about it before. I mean, it makes more sense now, I would say, because when Dave Gainforth and I first broached the subject, probably back before COVID, we were getting 35 cars at Oshweek. And it was hard to sit down 35 for 18. But now we're only getting 24 on some nights, at which point we could sit down 24 for 18, 19.
They put on a good show at Brighton.
Is that how we keep the big dog and Beagle from Victory Lane? Or will they get rides out there?
Yeah, hard to say.
Now, I wonder if either of those cars would qualify. So I think Bailey could, and I'm talking out my ass here. Bailey could probably get away with putting steel bumpers on the front and back of that Camaro and running. Beagle, I don't think his cars fit in the years, but I could be wrong. Someone speak up. So,
well, hold your peace until next weekend.
Yeah, that's just
next week.
I think that would ruin it, right? You don't want Beagle and Bailey to bring out their own cars and compete with the hot rods. That kind of
it might ruin it, or they might listen. Tyler Hahn's not going to get run over. They'll get elbows up. A lot more horsepower in Hahn's car.
I love Tyler Hahn, but I'm betting the house on Bailey over a guy who's never been on the speedway once. Come on. Now, vice versa. Oh, now you're going to make me have the race just so we can have that bet.
Do it.
Up to 1980s bodies. So that
the whole class could run.
Probably. And doesn't that just dilute it, though?
Yeah. Or makes it a lot of fun.
Maybe we throw it on the night when we give up the Thunderstocks to Ransomville. Then the guys that want to go to Ransomville could still race, and we could still have a... See, now you got me thinking. I'm supposed to be going to eat and painting the kitchen, but here we are now, brainstorming. Oscar versus the Stocks? I don't think that's a fair fight at Oshweekend. Do you?
That's what he's saying, Oscar versus the Thunderstocks.
Yeah, but do you think that's a fair fight, our regular guys against them? No, yeah. I'm talking about figuring out a way that our guys aren't allowed to participate. Oh. I mean, we're not going to make up rules. I'm just saying, in an ideal world, if our cars didn't meet Oscar rules, and you could get Bailey and Beagle into a real Oscar hot rod, as opposed to their own dominant cars that they race with all the time.
It'd be tough for them to compete.
It'd be like bringing in NASCAR. It'd be like bringing a NASCAR candidate in to Peterborough and letting McCaddy still drive his own car. He's going to whip their asses because he's made for that track, and those guys aren't. Yeah. It has nothing to do with talent or, it's experience and the machines. There, Fran said Bailey and Beagle want to go to Ransomville. All right, we'll get them out, and we'll bring in the Oscars. No, good show again. Thanks, Spence, for everything you do. Only 2 shows till Christmas.
Thank you, Spencer. 2 shows till Christmas. It was going to be 2 Christmases.
Yeah, well, we'll find something to fight about next week.
We'll have to.
Thanks, everybody, for hanging around. We'll talk to you next week, and whatever you want to chat about, we'll find out. Lots of good racing on the channels this weekend. Make sure you check it out. See you soon, guys. Ciao.